public universities have not been able to come up. So we have universities, for example, that give scholarships among some of the private ones that is entirely for a whole faculty. So there's a university that at the point said, because they want to promote people studying agriculture, anybody who comes to study in Faculty of Agriculture in that university gets a scholarship. There are some of those innovations also that some of the religious-based one, where if you're a member of the church or the mosque, you pay rebates. So you realize that the affordability issue for the private university is being addressed. The more important thing, and let's remember that universities are conveyors to the market. We don't have universities because we want to have universities. We are preparing people for a market.
Well, now, could you connect that then to this JAMB cutoff part? Because there are those who will say, look, reducing this or leaving it as high as it was didn't make a lot more meaning, because after all, when they go to some of these schools, when they do come out, some of them still remain, perhaps some say, not as employable as they used to be 10, 20 years ago. So nothing really changes. So whether they raise or reduce it, some think neither here nor there.
For me, I don't think our problem is the cutoff mark. I think our problem is that our students are failing JAMB.
They're failing JAMB?
Yes.
So why are they failing the JAMB?
Why are they failing JAMB? Because JAMB is an exam. WAEC and NECO seems to be like practice.
So we need
in
more
the last
practice.
in the last 3 years, the people passing WAEC and NECO has been increasing. But the people failing JAMB has been increasing too. How does the same set of, how does the country produce people for 3 exams? They are passing and increasing in 2, and they are not doing well in the other. That's a problem. The quality of questions asked in JAMB is significantly of a higher level than any other exams. And that's why people are failing. And that's a problem. Don't forget that, you know, in basic analysis, there's what we call independent variable, and there's what we call dependent variable. Your cutoff mark is a dependent variable. It's dependent on 2 factors. One, the carrying capacity of our universities, which today is between 450 and 500,000. So you have that fixed 450, 500,000 spaces. Then you have the other independent variable is the number of people that write JAMB. For the first time this year, we had over 1.7 million people write JAMB. Never happened before.
But the cutoff mark does not influence your score in JAMB.
So let me tie it together. 450, 500 on one hand, 1.7 million here. They need to get inside here. Is their performance in that exam that will determine the cutoff mark. If people pass JAMB, the cutoff mark will be high. The cutoff mark is a response to our reality.
So they're lowering it because people are not passing.
Yes, and that's why we should not talk about cutoff. That's why we should talk about the fact that people are not passing. I've heard vice chancellors come out from that meeting, and which I feel is a bit unethical. That decision to lower the cutoff mark was a decision by all stakeholders. Unfortunately, and maybe that's the error there, was that it was JAMB that chaired that meeting. And I feel that should never have happened. I think it should have been the Nigerian Universities Commission.
Talk to us about the perception that universities are more preferable than polytechnics or even monotechnics. Where do we begin to look at this in terms of the cutoff mark?
Well, the question we need to ask ourselves is that Nigeria needs to take a decision on these polytechnics. I think we are just playing around it. The United Kingdom, for example, at a point decided, and they had the same problem we have. People were not going to the polytechnics, and they took a decision that over a period of time, we're going to convert our polytechnics to become universities. And they went through a process. I think Nigeria needs to also do that, because it seems that the job market seems to have a preference for university graduates. Unfortunately so, but there's a need for us to agree whether we need to have those polytechnics. Now, after saying this, I'm sure somebody will hear in government and they will just start removing signboard and Yaba Tech, Yaba University, University of Ibadan, Poly Ibadan, Poly University. The funniest thing is that that's not the way the United States, the United Kingdom did it. They went through a process to convert. But the funny thing is that if Nigeria is seriously serious about having revolutions in terms of technology and education and science, we may need to put a little bit of more effort on our polytechnic system. Or maybe we need to ask that question. So Nigeria started at the point to have what they call University of Technology. I attended one, Federal University of Technology, great university. The question to ask is that, is this time for us to start to merge those polytechnics to those federal universities? So there's a federal polytechnic at Ado-Ekiti. Is a polytechnic technical in nature. Should that school become a campus of Federal University of Technology because they are all on the same line? And at that point, that preference will start to go because of the fact that everybody gets a degree. Funny enough, Kaduna Poly currently has a degree program. So why don't we have more of that? I go to a polytechnic, but I get a BSc. Same way I can go to ADME College of Education, which is a college of education, and get a BSc.
We could go on and on, but that's a fine place to anchor. Abayomi Fawemi is an education and human resources consultant. Definitely lots of talking points in the days ahead, but we thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
We're back in a moment. Don't go away.